everybody. Randy Patterson here with Boomerocity. You know, from time to time, we get to learn about an artist that maybe is just very well known in one small part of the country, and they're making their moves to become more well known. And that is the case with Cindy Alexander, probably more known in Southern Cal, maybe up into Northern Cal a bit. And she does make forays out into the rest of the country, especially when she's touring with the Bacon brothers. Yeah, Kevin Bacon, you know, that 7 degrees of separation Bacon. She's very good friends with those guys and tours with them. And so she's gradually making herself known across the country and around the world. She has got tours planned for there, that kind of thing. And I wanted to make sure that you guys became aware of Cindy's work as well. I know her publicist very well, and they have made me aware of her for a while. And we finally got it arranged for me to be able to chat with her from a place over in Southern Cal. And she resides in Big Sur, and who wouldn't want to live in Big Sur, right? But what a wonderful lady to talk with, and what an amazing talent. You'll love her work if you haven't heard it already. And I encourage you to love it or to listen to it, because I know you'll love it. And I would start with her new album that you see behind me called Messy. It's wonderful. It's got a range and a breadth and a depth to it that is worth your time investing in, because then you'll be investing in her as a fan to check out all the rest of her body of work. And it is a great range of work there. So without any further ado, here is my first of what I hope are many more interviews to come with Cindy Alexander. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care. We were talking a little bit, and we don't need to go all the way back, but we were talking a little bit about how the pandemic has affected artists and their creativity and what all they've done. And I was curious about how it affected you with your songwriting during that time, and where it shows up on this new album of yours, which, by the way, I absolutely love. It's a great album, and I'm a new fan of yours as a result. So
Thank you. Thank you so much. I would say that the pandemic absolutely affected everything about this record. It was written pretty much during, the lockdown and then the emergence, I think we all are coming out of this trauma, either reinvented or kind of with all of the pretense put aside, because we were, I mean, when you think about it, I think that this is kind of a metaphor, the fact that most of us, you lived in sweats, and you don't want to tell anybody, but you probably didn't shower as often, or
I did
get
every day. That's my story,
right.
and I'm sticking to it. So
Yeah. So you kind of had to go back and re-meet yourself, because you
Mhm.
were spending a lot of time just either alone or with whoever you were quarantined with. In my case was my family, my husband Chip, and my twin daughters. I lost my mom in March of 2020, and someday became now.
Mhm.
So I watched that there was so much loss, not only the loss of human life, but I think culture and society as we knew it. um, I lived near downtown Los Angeles. There were a lot of protests going on. There were you know wildfires and buildings burning and being ransacked, and helicopters overhead, and there was a tank running down Hollywood Boulevard that I could see from my window. And and then everybody covered up in masks, and it was so surreal and dystopian. And I literally looked at my husband at one point and said, I get me out of here. We need to go somewhere safe. This is not a good life right now. And fortunately, we were able to make that move to what is like a paradise to me on the Big Sur coast.
Mhm.
And I found solace in Mother Nature. I felt that embrace
Mhm.
and so connected. And I had never ever in my life been 100% sure about anything. I was always second guessing. But when we arrived there, I I was 100% sure that this was right and this is where we belonged and we were going to grow and come out of this as better humans with stronger love for each other. Um, but as we were talking about a little bit earlier, before we were able to record this, um, when you're stuck with yourself for that long, your imagination kind of runs wild. And I was also kind of going back and sifting through life and my lessons. And I was writing, from a place of, you know, introspection, retrospection, and what I really wanted, for the future. And I wanted to take the lessons that I've learned, um, and really kind of lay myself bare with any of the mistakes that I have made,
Mhm.
as well as, the wisdom I may have gleaned through all this that I could like put down for, as a legacy
Mhm.
and for my kids. So I think that's kind of where the writing came from. And I mean, I can go through probably every song on that record with you and tell you, you know, where it came from. And I mean, just from the top of the record, Long Way to Go. A friend of mine was just so stir crazy, and grabbed a bunch of friends and went to Vegas. And it was a fatal car crash. And the my friend thankfully was a passenger and lived. Um, has a completely new face now. Um, but so that's where that came from, and the life that, you know, that some person is never going to get to know. And the life that as we knew it is completely changed. We have life before the pandemic and life after the pandemic. So that's kind of where that went. I mean, I could go through every one of those. Life number 9, thinking if this is your last chance, if this is the last moments that you have, um, what are you going to do? Are you going to make the same mistakes? And you know, I was thinking about my teens when my teens say, "Mom, you just don't understand," and they're right. I don't. Yeah, I was a teenager and I went through all that angst and the hormonal up and downs, but I didn't grow up with TikTok.
Right.
I didn't grow up with social media and bullying and uh, I was just thinking about all of the chances we took as kids, they can't take because they're deadly.
Yeah.
So I was kind of putting all that in there. And it- I don't know, House Without Windows, is my love song to Mother Nature, and really trying to be present in the moment, and that definitely came from, watching, just so much death and loss, like, okay, I'm here, I'm present, and thank you. Thank you, you know. Um, I also wanted to have fun. I wanted to laugh again, and laughter is so important. It's such, we can't take ourselves so seriously all the time, and I think that there's a lot of I kind of went back to my original way of making music where I just didn't care anymore what people thought about what I had to say. I'm just going to say, I'm going to tell it like it is. And if you like it, great. And if you don't, go listen to something else, So I put some stuff in there that, yeah, take some chances.
Do you think, and I don't want to make this all about the pandemic, but you said
Uh-huh.
several things that's resonated with me, and that's this. I know for me, where I live, it was much different. The pandemic affected us so differently than it did where you're at. I know in LA, the greater LA area, all of Southern Cal, well, all of California, it was the response was markedly different
Yeah.
than here. Here we were even within the state of Tennessee. Up here in the Smokies, a bit more laid back. I remember when the lockdown first happened. I had just gotten back from Nashville. I was working there, and they said go home. So I came home. I lived next door to my dad, and on the first full day of the lockdown, we went for a drive. and Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg were ghost towns. Nobody was walking around, but we were allowed to be out and about. I understand, as things progressed and we were able to go out to concerts and such, it was different in Nashville than it was in Chattanooga than it was in Knoxville. And each little town was a little bit different. And from everybody I've talked to in Southern Cal, I mean, it was very, the word comes to mind, draconian. I don't know if that's a proper
No,
word.
it was.
Just very, I mean, very 1984-ish, very, streets of New York almost. And I know it affected people emotionally. And when I say psychologically, I don't mean that it made people nutcases, or at least
No,
not
it
people I
did.
thought.
No, I want you to go there because it did. I mean, it makes me almost want to cry thinking about it. It was so traumatic. And like, I don't know any teenagers that like haven't, aren't dealing with depression and anxiety. And, I it was bad. I mean, I feel like I'm sort of at fault too, because I mean, I was paranoid. I was the one that was washing the cereal box and, leaving things out and didn't want to touch anything, didn't, couldn't
That's
see
what we
anything.
were told to do.
Yeah. And so basically, so when I left LA, when I moved in October of 2020, when I got to Big Sur, I could get out of the house, I could walk, I could hike. And I had a pod. I live on a mountain and there's not a lot of homes, but we were, it was a sanctuary and we were each other's pod. And when we were tested, we were okay. We could have dinners together and we ate outside around fire pits.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a community and it wasn't so scary as it was in LA. Like in LA, I lived in an area, I lived on a public walk and everybody that wanted to get outside, they would walk up and down the stairs next to my house and in our neighborhood, and I could hear people coughing. So like I didn't even want to open my windows,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but I will, yeah, no, there is a mental health crisis. And right now, and it was probably there to begin with because of social media with our kids,
Mm-hmm.
but it was, it's exponential, I think, since the pandemic. And yeah, I volunteer for I volunteered at the middle school. My kids are starting high school now, but I led a songwriting group because I realized that there was a need to put those big feelings somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought if I could get the kids to write songs, and that it would be a place where they could say things and not be like once you put something in a song, or you take a character, on stage, whatever, you can go, oh, that was just a song, or it was just music,
Plausible
and
deniability.
yeah, 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 and you can say whatever you want, and so anyways, it was a beautiful thing, not only I think for them, but even more so for me,
Mm-hmm.
to have a place to, to create, to nurture for my kids, for that, it's a village. We're a village.
Mm-hmm.
Once you're a mom to everybody. And I did the same thing. I was putting all of that into music and just letting it out. And I felt so free. Like messy to me is like I have never had so much joy in a project. Yeah, it's pretty intense and there's some things that are tear jerking, but there's also a lot of joy in that. I'm in messy. I'm like, yeah, let's make something incredible out of this chaos
Mm-hmm.
and free ourselves, and I kind of did that. I mean, if you look at the album cover, I'm looking at it right now. It's like you take paint, just go, psh, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Well, how was this album different for you to put together compared to your previous work?
um, all right. I went back. I hired Paul Bushnell as my producer, and I've known Paul since the '90s, like even before I started, uh, putting out records. I was following these indie bands in Hollywood, and Paul played with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And he was friends with some of my musician friends when I was first starting out. And he was always my favorite bass player. And he has this incredible energy about him. And he's a genius. And he's not only a genius musically, he's incredibly funny and fun and a joy to be around. And I'd always wanted to work with him. So, because I was kind of going back to where I started, where I just didn't care so much, and I wasn't making music for the industry, or I didn't care what a label thought. I was making the music that I wanted to make, to stay sane for my fans and for me. So going, bringing somebody from my past back into the present, where we've both grown so much, as artists, musicians, and creative people, it was such a blessing.
Mhm.
And then he put together an incredible band. I really wanted to work with Dave Levita again because he had done my last record. I fell in love with his playing, and he and Paul are in Tim McGraw's band
Oh,
together.
okay. Yeah, yeah.
So they were already friends and had worked together. And Paul brought in Thomas Lang, who's just a brilliant drummer. He's the drummer's drummer. He's like a drum god.
Mhm.
Um, and Zach Ray from Death Cab for Cutie, and he brought that, like, the quirkiness and the experimental side. And Bernie Barlow, who I love, is a dear friend, and she's beautiful backup singer, and she brought her back into the fold. So what's different is there's an edge to this one. It's louder, there's more rock. I
Mhm.
think my last few records that I've made were more contained, and they were also like meant to go in a certain direction so the label could market it. And
Mhm.
this one, I was like, no, I don't fit in a box. I'm ripping up the box, I'm stomping on it. I'm going to, I'll put it in the recycle bin for you.
Mhm.
No, I don't. I'm going to make music, and I don't know where it's going to land, but it's going to be truthful. And not to say that the other things weren't, but this is just like, I don't know, there's more energy and passion and soul. And it's because it's collective. It's from all of us that were involved in this record. I mean, they were all just as invested as I was and as
Mhm.
excited to be a part of it. And I think that makes a difference.
What I and you're a mother of twins. My oldest niece is a mother of identical twins. They're 6 now. And I
Uh-huh.
still can't tell them apart. I call them thing one and thing two. So I even bought them shirts that say thing one and thing two. But
I
anyway,
had that. I did those.
did you really?
Yeah.
And I bought thing three just so I could be part of it.
Are
But
you thing three? You're thing three.
I'm thing three, and the girls are thing one and thing two. To this day, like I said, they're 6 years old. I can't tell them apart. They live a couple hours from me, and they're just adorable. But
Uh-huh.
anyway, as a as a mother, I know you can't pick who your favorite child is because there's not one, right?
Ooh.
At least we're not supposed to. Fortunately, I only have one child,
Okay.
but they're with songwriters, I know it's kind of the same way. Your songs are your kids, even if
They're
you're
my children.
covering, yeah, even if you're covering someone else's song.
Yeah.
So what I ask instead is, what song would you point to as your calling card for this album that you'd say, hey, look, whether you know me or not, if you like this song, you're really going to love the rest of the record.
You know what? That is so hard because there are so many different dimensions on this record.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, if you want the rock side of me, I would say Messy. You want the singer-songwriter, bare my soul. I mean, there's more than one. They're all, there's House Without Windows and Cruel Companion. If you want to laugh, go to Call Us What We Are, Freeloaders. I am not I am not one dimension. I am, you know, I am a fully formed human with many sides, and my emotions are a kaleidoscope, and depending on the hour and the day, you're going to get something different. And I think that the record is a trip, a journey. And I want people to go along with me on this and find a bit of yourself in there.
Cool. Were there any surprises putting this record together?
Maybe some of the surprises are where my voice went.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Doing things you hadn't done with it before?
Yeah, range wise, yeah. I mean, I hadn't done that rock voice in a really long time. Um, and it was kind of fun to be able to do that and then flip on back to, the gentler
Hmm.
vocals. Um, I what's surprising me? You know what's surprising me about it, but uh, I'm glad, is how people are reacting to it. I'm definitely getting, oh my God, you're on a new level, you know, and
Hmm.
that I love, you know,
Has there
like,
been anybody that said, "Hey, this song hit me"? I mean, something very poignant. Maybe you've heard from a fan or a listener.
yes, yes.
Tell me about
Yeah.
that.
I mean, I can't go. I mean, I'm just, if I go to my Facebook page and I there's a song called Candlelight, and there's a writer uh, here in up in Monterey, and she's like, I don't normally say this, but this song just made me bawl. I was in a puddle of tears, and it was so me. And when somebody says that's so me, then I did my job, because my song became their song.
Right, right.
And it doesn't matter what that song meant to me when I wrote it, the fact that somebody else found meaning in it, in their life, that's that's the ultimate compliment.
Hmm.
Somebody came up to me at a show a couple nights ago, and they, I guess, Cruel Companion made them cry or whatever. And I was, that's like, thank you for allowing that emotion and connecting with me in that way. That's the power of music. It's not
Hmm.
not my power. It's the power of music.
Right. I
And
agree.
when you put when you when we're creators, we're creating something out of nothing. That's miraculous, and that's not us. That's something that we allow to kind of flow through us, and
Agreed.
we give it back. We've been given this gift to be able to create music, and when you give it back and somebody receives it, that then, as I said, I'm doing my job. My job is what I love. It's what I'm passionate about.
Hmm.
It's a purpose. It's a calling.
Cool. So, what's on your radar for the rest of the year? Say for the next 12 months, touring. What
Yes.
else?
Well,
New
well,
album?
there's a couple things. So like the next from mid-August to mid-September, I got to get my kids started in high school. I'm focused on that. So I'm taking off. Um, I do have a show uh, in the middle of August with my label mates, Mustangs of the West,
Oh, cool.
out in Livermore. Yeah. So go check my tour dates for that. And then I start back up in late September with the Bacon Brothers. That's
Oh, very
Kevin
nice. I
Bacon and
love those
Michael
guys.
Bacon. Yeah, I've been playing with them on and off for over 20 years. From when I
And now I've
first,
gone from 7 degrees to just what, 1 degree now?
yes,
So,
exactly, exactly. I met them playing the Troubadour in Hollywood when I first started, and after that first show, they invited me on the road, and we
oh,
have been
nice.
friends ever since. And whenever I have the opportunity to join them on tour, I take it because I just love it. So we'll be in Texas in September. We'll be on the East Coast in October, and I've got a couple things I'm still working up to confirm for November.
Hmm.
And I'll take off for the holidays, and I pick back up in February. And the date, I haven't confirmed them yet, so I can't announce. And I'll be hopefully over in the UK next summer. So
Very.
I'm planning way in advance. I haven't been overseas since before I got married. So I'm excited to head back over to UK and Europe.
Very cool. Well, I hope you get out this neck of the woods in East Texas.
I
That'd
Yes,
be
I
great.
want to. I used to play Knoxville all the time.
That's just an hour from me.
Yeah, WFIV. I know they've
Mhm.
changed their format, but that was kind of like a home away from home for me for a while with Joe Stetler, who I know we lost, and
Yeah.
he was an amazing guy. So yeah, no, I'll be back. I will definitely be back through Tennessee and hope to be able to see you when I
Well, yeah,
do.
give me a heads up on that and we'll definitely get together. Two things. One I wanted to ask you, and hopefully we'll be talking a lot more in the future, in the years to come, as you have new projects and such coming out. My door is always going to be open to you to talk
Thank
about
you.
that. But and I don't mean this to be a dark question by any stretch of the imagination, but it kind of goes back to what we were talking about from the pandemic and such. And I sounds like with you, it's the same with me and many others I've talked to, that it kind of gave us a different view of life and what are we doing, and is it worth what we're doing? If not, then we need to do something more worthwhile, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So the purpose of this question is just kind of get a gauge of where you're at on this, so that like when you step off, the question is, when you step off the tour bus up at the great gig in the sky to steal from Pink Floyd, how do you want to be remembered, and what do you hope your legacy is? Because I'm sure this whole thing kind of changed that for you.
Well, I'd already been there. I'm a cancer survivor.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Wow, way to
Yeah,
go.
I'm 10 years on July 26th.
Wow.
So I've been through that, like, not being in control, like putting my body in doctor's hands and God's hands. And just, I just want to leave the world a better place for having been here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And that's what I tell my kids. And like, that's the goal. You know, I would like to leave a beautiful and um, provocative body of work creatively. And just the idea is you just given as much love as you can, appreciating gratitude. um yeah, I think all everything I've been through has put me in a place where I have so much more to do, so much. I mean, there's always more to say, more to create, more to do,
mm-hmm,
but I feel really good about where I am right now. And yeah, I'm in a good place. And I not that I want to go. I do not want to go. I want to be here. But I have so much. I want to raise my kids and see them off to where they can be, independent. I love my husband. Or there's so many things I want to do with him.
mm-hmm,
But I'm okay. Like I'm good. I'm good. And I'm leaving. I have 11 records out.
mm-hmm,
And I think this last one, you know, I said a lot. And there's a song on it that says, it's called I Belong to Everyone.
mm-hmm,
And I think I've just gotten to that place where, you don't, you can try to like keep everything, to yourself and be all private and personal. And um, you can save, 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 save. But why? Why? What are you saving it for? I want to just live fully. And we're all part of each other.
mm-hmm,
And we're not meant to be, you know, kept in the dark. We all move towards light.
mm-hmm.
And so there's something you should know when you shield me from the sun and keep me to yourself. And there's somewhere we should go when all is said and done. Before you put me on a shelf, what you should know is I belong to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, yeah, I want to leave the world a better place, and I want to leave behind a legacy of music that can stand the test of time. I want them to be singing my songs for generations. But hey, if they don't, you know, you know, I feel good about what I do.
Well, you should. It's wonderful work, excellently done. You know,
Thank
it's not pablum. You know, it's very well done, and so that's the reason why I wanted to talk with you, because it was good stuff. And because of this album, I went back and looked at the other. Well, I've known about you for a while, but revisited the
Yeah.
previous work, and
Uh-huh.
just, I can see where this all dovetails in with each other. And so it's good stuff, and I look forward to so much more from you. And
Thank you.
hopefully you get to Knoxville or somewhere nearby here, so we can drop
Yeah.
by and see you, and or Chattanooga or Nashville or wherever. I'll come
I'm
see you.
sure I'll be in Nashville. Yeah.
Yeah, for
I'd love
sure.
to go to the
But
Smoky Mountains. I've never been.
Well, I live right here in Pigeon Forge. I'm a mile and a half up the road from Dollywood. I can hear the train whistle at day and night and the fireworks show at night, and it's fun. I like it here. I love it here, in fact. And I was born just on the other side of the mountain from here, quite a while back, and I was able to come back almost 10 years ago and just kind of get back to my origins, so to speak. And so it's been wonderful, and we would all love to have you here to either perform or be a tourist or both. And I think you'd fall in love with the place. I really do.
I'd like to. Well, let's plan that. I mean, if you have a venue that you want to suggest, let's just make it happen.
All right. Well, we
Sure.
have each other's email address. I
Yeah.
will drop you a note on that. There's several good ones that you could, from very small to pretty decent size. You don't want to get into too big of a place, but
Oh,
who knows what you can fill there. It could all be
mm,
good. But let's stay in touch.
thank you very, very much.
Well, thank you for the time, and we will be definitely talking in the future a lot more. Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
Thanks so
Take
much. You
care,
have a
Cindy.
good day. Okay, bye.
Bye bye.